Time to season a new Blackstone Griddle. I've got you covered. Welcome to Griddle Nation. I'm Blackstone Betty, here to show you exactly how I season all of my Blackstone Griddles to get that super slick, smooth black surface. And I'll explain the science behind why I started the trend of using onions to help season your griddle. So if this is your first Blackstone and you're a little nervous, get ready to have some fun. It's super easy. I'm going to show you how. One of my favorite things to do is to season a new Blackstone griddle surface, create that non-stick, slick black surface so that everything you cook just glides across the griddle. I'm sharing with you my personal way that I season all of my griddles, and I've seasoned a ton, and I can tell you everyone in Griddle Nation who is now using my method just loves the results. So I can promise you, I know you're gonna love it too. I've got a gorgeous 36-inch Blackstone griddle patio collection. You can check it out online. It's got this gigantic air fryer drawer, which I cannot wait to start using. So be sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Click that bell so that you don't miss any of the videos. Now on to seasoning my way. First things first, you've got to have some good tunes on, making this whole process of seasoning a griddle fun. You can check out Blackstone Griddles on Spotify. We each have put together a playlist that we love listening to while griddling, and we hope that you guys do too. I always start off using a grill block to smooth out the surface. Now I started doing this because when I had my first Blackstone griddle that I stripped down of its old seasoning layers to start fresh, which after a year or so of having it, I just wanted to start over. I loved the results of how smooth and slick the surface was. So I do this now with all of my new Blackstone griddles. It's optional and just the way I like to do it. Whether you use the grill block or not, you do want to wash your Blackstone with some dish soap. It's the only time you will use any soap on your griddle, so clean it well. You can easily just push all of that soapy water and then fresh water into the rear grease cup. Make sure you empty it before turning on your Blackstone and starting the seasoning process. We're going to turn all 4 burners onto high heat and allow this to burn for about 5 minutes. This will ensure that there is no water or moisture on our surface. You'll begin to notice the center of your Blackstone starting to change color to a little bit of a brown, which means it's time to start adding our layers of seasoning. You can use oil if you like. However, Blackstone has created the perfect blend of seasoning and conditioning, which is great to use once a month to condition your Blackstone the same way that you will right now when seasoning. With some paper towels folded up and some tongs to protect your hands, you'll drop down 1 heaping tablespoon of the Blackstone seasoning, using your paper towel to wipe this in all across the entire surface, making sure to get the edges, the sides, the front, the back, completely covered with 1 thin, smooth layer of seasoning. You'll rub it in, watching for any beading or pulling. If you see any piles of oil built up, make sure you rub it in. You want these to be as smooth and rubbed in as possible. You'll see the smoke instantly start to roll off of your griddle, which means it's working, it's doing its magic. Our oils are bonding to the cold rolled steel, creating a layer of seasoning. As that smoke begins to die down, you'll repeat the process, and again, make sure you're watching for any beading or pulling. You don't want any spots on that griddle to be uneven or thick in certain spots, or down the road you'll end up with some problems. So keep it thin, rubbed in, and repeat the process again 3 to 5 times. You'll want to do at least 3. However, today I did 5 because I'm having so much fun listening to my music and enjoying the process of creating a beautiful surface. Again, making sure to get the sides and the front, keeping an eye on a smooth surface. As we are building these layers of seasoning, I've got a bag of onions. Now, I started the little monster of onions being used instead of bacon for seasoning. The first thing I recommend cooking, which I think is kind of magical, is a bag of onions. Don't listen to anyone who tells you to cook bacon first or use bacon to season. Bacon is filled with salts and sugars, which you'll notice if you cook bacon first, you run the chance of it sticking to your griddle surface. And the last thing I want to do is ever waste money on expensive bacon again. Onions are super cheap. They contain sulfur, which when released from the onion, it helps to polymerize or bond the oils to the cold rolled steel. So slice yourself up an entire bag of onions or chop them up however you want to cook them. Toss them in some oil. I usually go with safflower, sunflower, canola, or today we're doing avocado oil. When my last layer of seasoning is done smoking, we drop down our onions, spread these out, and allow them to slowly cook on low heat. The longer, the better, so don't rush it. Go for low heat. Allow these onions to hang out across the entire griddle surface, moving them to let them hang out across the edges where your seasoning isn't as dark as the center. You'll notice instantly that these onions just glide across the griddle surface, which means you did your seasoning perfectly and your Blackstone is ready to cook whatever you want now. Make some cheesesteaks, smashed burgers, use these onions in whatever you want, or make a pot of French onion soup, or one of my favorites, some French onion dip with some simple sour cream, Duke's mayo, seasoned with fresh parsley, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. It's perfect to last me all week for dipping in some chips or using it inside a griddled cheese sandwich. It is so tasty, so good. Or if you're someone who doesn't like onions and doesn't want to save these, it's not gonna hurt your pocket to just toss these. They only cost a couple dollars for a bag of onions and you've wasted no bacon. Now it's time to go enjoy your perfectly seasoned Blackstone. So go griddle something tasty.